Welcome back, Dungeon Explorers. My name is Ronald. We are playing Dungeon Universalis. This is another episode of my How to Play Dungeon Universalis video series. I'm glad that you're back and you want to know something else about the game. And today we have a look at the combat type of ranged or shooting of the game, and it's nothing really new. You have to make a test to see if you can hit the enemy, and there are some modifiers. There's cover. You need line of sight, and we have a deep look now. I give you some hints, and I hope I can make it as short as possible. And so let's start right away. And once again, I've already told you the one or the other time, my videos are meant as an addition to reading the rule book, but not as a replacement. I'm leaving out some parts that don't happen so often, and please read the rule book carefully on your own and watch my videos as an addition to for a better understanding. So today's main actor, once again, is my small goblin Larnak. He's equipped with a short bow. I'll show you the card. So here it comes. This is a short bow. It's a ranged weapon, which this icon tells you it has a range of 18. And a breaking value, and a gold value, and a weight. And if you want to know more about these icons, have a look at my items video. And you have to use two hands for it, which is pretty logical for a bow. And you will deal some damage. We won't talk about damage in this video, as I haven't done this in the melee combat video, because I will make a dedicated video about damage, because all combat types will always lead to the same damage calculation system, and so we don't want to repeat this over and over again. The rulebook does it as well, so let's just focus on the combat type and how to do this, and then after that you can watch the damage video and know how you can make the damage and how to calculate the damage. So, alright, we are using a short bow. We need an enemy. Once again, we'll use this pretty barbarian lady. She's equipped with a sword and a shield. Let's place her over here. And so, what's about shooting? Shooting is pretty easy. In melee combat, if you have watched the video already, you have to do an opposing roll. So each combatant has the possibility to win the fight, and the defender may just win by reaching a higher result in the roll, and so he will not take any damage. When you're doing some shootings, the defender may not use any of this, because you're just rolling for your own talent, and if you shoot, you will succeed or you will fail, and if you succeed in your own test, it will hit the target. So the only thing that can prevent the damage is using shields. We won't talk about shields in this video, because I will make a dedicated video about shields, because it's a great or larger type of rules, and we'll see that in the dedicated video, because it makes, in my opinion, it makes more sense to do this in a more summarized kind of video about the rules. All right. So if Larnak over here wants to shoot her, at the first he has to check if she has a line of sight. Like always, even in melee, you need a line of sight, otherwise you can't attack. this thing, it's the same thing around over here. So we have to look. There is a line of sight. There's nothing in between, like standing an obstacle or something. So clear line of sight. Then we have to check how many squares are in between of them. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 squares from his position to her. And let's check the card again. With a short bow you can reach targets up to 18 squares. So if you are using a weapon that is over here, let's see, here, this is a blowgun. It only has a range of 6, so if she would stand over here, he couldn't reach her with that weapon. Too bad. Okay. 6 is in the range of the short bow, so this is pretty good. And there are modifiers. As always, there are modifiers, and we have to we can check the short reference card for shooting to make and to have an overview. So if it's a small target, which it isn't, it's an average target, but if it would be a small target, we would have a penalty of -1 for shooting it. If it would be large, like this guy over here, or a huge one like this guy, there will be a bonus of +1 or +2 for the huge guy. If it's a stationary target, maybe because she's unspelled with an ensorcelled with an immobilized spell or something, then and she couldn't move, the shooter will get a +2 for his shoot. And there are some bad types of penalties are always bad. Some bad types of modifiers, like moving and shooting. We'll have a look next. There maybe cover. We also have a look in a few minutes. Target's agility is greater than the shooter's. Attack from the back. We have also look defensive shot. All right, but the important thing is we have distance to target. If there's a distance from 1 to 3 squares, there will no penalty. But if there's a distance of 4 to 6, we already have -1, and after that -2 and -3. This means we have a range of 6. I've measured it 3 minutes ago. So the penalty for 4 to 6 will be -1. Okay. Let's see how to calculate this. This is Larnak, my small goblin. He has a shooting skill of 4. So we are rolling the dice for like a normal test. We have to reach 10 to hit. We have to roll. You roll the dice. We add the 4 for shooting and calculate also all the modifiers on top. So we have we haven't moved. We have it's not a small or large or whatever target, and we have just the penalty for the distance, which is -1. So effective. There's 3 left for from his 4. -1 is 3, and so we have to roll at least a 7 to make the shooting hit. Let's see. It's not scripted, I promise. We have a 7, we'll add the 3, it's a hit, everything's fine. Now we could roll for the damage. That's it. There's no chance, except for if she's using a shield, there's no chance for her to avoid this damage, because when we are talking about shooting, we only will roll for the talent of our own, and the enemy couldn't fight against the arrow or something, or it's there's no chance. And this is why it's important, in my experience, to have at least one shooting hero or character in your party, because in the melee there always can be modifiers, or you can get stunned or something, and even if you have a combat skill of 5, which is pretty good, there are many enemies that also have a 4 or 5, and then it's hard to hit to even hit them in melee. And with ranged shooting, even if this is a small goblin with a short bow and he only makes 2 damage dice, I guess. I've so often he's succeeding in the shooting test, and he makes damage, and sometimes he's even with his only 2 dice, he's making more damage over 3 rounds than my warrior tank, and this is why it's so important to have him in the party, to have a shooter in the party. Okay, so let's see if what we have left out. We have the cover. Let's say she's standing next to the table. The table is providing a light cover. Have a look at my heights video about heights and sizes of creatures. So there's something about line of sight and of cover. I don't want to repeat this in full detail, but for the moment, you just have to know that if this is an average character, this is an average, not an average table, but a table with a height of 1. This is height of 2. This is providing a light cover for her, and so the shooting would have been added another penalty of -1 for light cover, and that would mean a 7 wouldn't be enough. So the shooting test isn't successful, and no harm will be done to her. This only applies, according to the rules, if she's standing next to the cover. So if she's standing over here, even there is still the table, and it has the same height as before, but it's not counting anymore as cover for her because she isn't standing adjacent to it. I've already said that in the line of sight video, and it doesn't make fully sense to me, but I accept it. Please also accept it, or think about house ruling this, but it's what's written in rules. Okay, same with heavy cover. If she's standing over here, and there will be a line of sight, but it's she's benefiting from the heavy cover because it has at least the same size as herself, it's average size. It's a heavy cover, and there will be a -2 of 2 for the shooting test. Also, again, if she's standing adjacent to the providing element. All right. Then that was cover. We had distance penalty. We have already said there's a penalty or a bonus maybe for the size of the target, small, large, and huge. Stationary moving. As always, you can not Dungeon Universalis. You can take 1 action per activation, and you can do it before or after your movement. And if you're going to move, you will have a penalty if you shoot afterwards. So let's pretend even you should do that. He's walking over here, 1, 2, and then he wants to shoot it at her. Then he will get let's check the card. He will get a -1 for shooting, for moving and shooting. And you have to check his movement of his card. So he's got a movement of 5. If he's going to move 2 squares, he has it's less than half of his movement points. So he will get a -1 because he hasn't moved so many steps. But if he's moving more than half of his movement, which would be 2.5, so 3 points squares. If he's moving 3, 5, or 4 squares, he will get -2 for his shooting test. So you always have to weigh up if it's better to move some squares towards the enemy to have less distance penalty, or to stay where you are, having more penalty for the distance, but less for moving, or no for moving at all. This is always something you have to consider when you're going to have some shooting test. Okay, another hint is to as a shooter, you should always stay out of out of the range from melee attacks, and because if you are equipped with a short bow, like Larnak in this case, or another ranged weapon, some guys coming over here and doing a melee attack, you're considered as unarmed with your bow, which is pretty logical to me. You can't defend yourself very well with a bow against a sword, and this is a problem when in melee combat. So as a shooter, always stay out of the melee range of any, or the range at all of any enemy characters. And also, like always in Dungeon Universalis, with the exception of melee combat, you are not allowed to take any action in the melee range of an enemy or adjacent to an enemy, which may be a difference. Please check my melee range video for this. So you cannot shoot if you're standing in melee range or adjacent of an enemy, like spellcasters too, and any other actions you may want to take, except melee combat. So once again, always stay out of range, at least out of the melee range of an enemy, but always try to put as many as squares between you and the enemy. Alright. There are some other minor penalties, and you may suffer from. Please check the rulebook. There's something like rolling less dice for when you have at least over half of the range of the weapon or something. But please have a look at that. There's, like in melee, you can attack from behind. Once again, I guess I've told that for the 5th or 6th time now. There's a front and the back of a character. For the standees, it's always this is used as a back. Let's pretend she's staying over here with her back to Larnak. Larnak is starting his activation in her back, and if he's now gonna shoot her, he will get a +1 because he's well, let's see, attack from the back. It's +1. Because he's shooting from behind and she cannot see what, and he will get a bonus for it. Let's deal with this. Okay, so he in this in the example from the beginning, he would need a result of 6, not of 7 to hit her, and this is pretty good. This, like in melee, this only counts if you are starting your activation in the back of the enemy. So this means she's looking at him. Now he's activating 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 steps. Now he is definitely in the back of her, but he hasn't started his activation in her back, and so he can't benefit from the +1. Yes, I guess that's it. Then there's another pretty cool feature. Let's see, there's an ally next to her. This is Croxon, my warrior. He's standing next to her because he's in melee with her. And now Larnak says he wants to shoot her. And he needs 1, 2, 3, 4. This is only a penalty of -1. He needs once again a 7 to shoot her because he has a shooting skill of 4. Sorry. With a penalty of -1, he needs a 7, and he rolls the dice. And let's pretend with a result of 6. Alright, because he rolled at least a 1. No, not at least. He failed the test with a 1. So the other die is the result is meaningless. Important is he hasn't succeeded in the test, and he has rolled a 1. This means that the test has failed. That's it. She won't. The barbarian wouldn't get any damage. Isn't hit, but because Croxer, an ally, is standing next to her, it's the rules say the shooting of him hits automatically an ally target standing adjacent to the real target. So this is pretty bad, because you always have to consider if it's a good choice to move up in range or in line of sight and then make a shoot, because if they're standing an ally next to them, and maybe an animal with no armor and less vitality, it could be a high risk, not for Lana maybe, because he only rolls 2 damage dice, but maybe with the human mercenary shooter or any other guy with a longbow or arquebus or something which is making much damage, and a simple failure of the test with a 1 would cause the ally to get hit, and this is very painful. So you can shoot your own allies down with this, and yes, this is not always the best idea. So you have always to weigh up if it's a good idea to shoot, or maybe just to walk into line of sight or into the distance and then do nothing and wait until your next activation. This could be the better choice in such a scenario. All right, even worse. Just pretend she's standing over here, Croxer is standing over here, and I hope this is good. Yes, this is. Larnak has line of sight to her. It's a distance of 1, 2, 3, 4. Everything's fine, and he's rolling the dice. Croxer is standing right away from her, not adjacent, but he's standing in the line of where the arrow will fly. All right, Larnak is rolling the die, and another dice where he's rolling the 2 dice, and he gets snake eyes. He gets a blunder. This is really bad because, and the nearest enemy, the nearest allied character. The nearest allied character in the way of the arrow will take the damage. Even if he's not standing adjacent to her, he will take the full damage of the shooting, just because he's standing in the way. So this is pretty bad. And just a moment. All right. Yes, just want to check this. If this everything is fine what I said, but also like in every like in the melee combat 2, if you're rolling a blunder, you will also lose your weapon, it will fall down to the floor. You have to make a breaking roll if it's got damaged, and yes, you have to pick it up again. Your activation is over. You can only pick it up in the next turn. And yes, this is in addition to the melee attack, you will have some friendly fire to your own allies, because it's friendly fire and it's it's affecting the allies. Yes, great, Ronald. You're a smart guy. I guess that's almost all for shooting. And there's only one thing left, which is a pretty cool feature of Dungeon Universalis. Let's move Croxer away. Let's pretend this barbarian, it's her activation, and now she's going to, she wants to attack Larnak, and she's walking over there, 1, 2, 3, 4, and she wants to attack him. But as soon as she's stating she wants to attack him, and she's moving up to, I have to check this, When she's 3 squares away from him, let's see, 1, 2, 3. If she's going to enter this square, Lanak has the possibility to make a defensive shot, so-called defensive shot. So she has to stop the movement for the moment, because Lanak may try to shoot her, even if it's her turn and he isn't. It's not his turn or the hero's turn at all. He can roll the dice for a normal shot. He will have a penalty of -2 to this shot, so he would need a result of 8, because he has a shooting skill of 4 with a penalty of 2, so you just have 2 points plus left, and plus an 8 from the roll, and that will make her stop her activation at the moment where he has to roll for the damage, and if she's taking at least 1 damage by this, so a loss of 1 vitality, she has to stop her activation where she's standing now. Her activation is over, and she gets damage, of course, and yes, this is a pretty great feature to avoid getting hit for a shooting character. This can only be made if she's starting her activation in line of sight of him. So if she would come from over here, even if she's going around him to attack him, it won't work because she's out of the line of sight at the beginning of her turn. And also if she's walking from over here within a range of 3 squares, you also cannot do a defensive shot. So you have to she would have to start more than 3 squares away from him, so he could make a defensive shot. And for the last thing, I just want to show some of the long-ranged weapons. Not long-range, I'm sorry, I'm mixing up this again. The ranged weapons, the shooting weapons. So we have already seen Lanak's short bow, but we have also a long bow. This makes more damage. It's already also a two-handed weapon. It has, which is logically, you have a longer range. But for example, you cannot make defensive shot with this weapon. You have this short bow again. You have the blowgun. We already have seen this. It's a short-range weapon, but it has another feature like that you will get the skill poisonous if you manage to hit the enemy. This is a reloading weapon, so you have to reload it. So after shooting once, you have to spend your next activations action to reload the weapon, and then once again one turn after that, then you can shoot again with it. So it could be a better option to say you may remember you have not only an action per activation, you also have a quick action. And with a quick action, you can change or you can equip another weapon. You can put this away and change over to a melee weapon. So this could be a good tactic for reloading weapons. That you're going to shoot once, then pull your sword out of from the belt, and then you're going into melee instead of wasting the next turn for reloading, and then you can shoot again. This could be a strategy, but you will find it out on your own. And we have I tried to find out how this is pronounced. I guess it's arquebus. It's a Spanish word, I guess. And this is a type of gun, also two-handed. It's with a great weapon damage and armor, with a great range. And this is not only a reloading weapon, it's also a detonating weapon. You can use for attacking doors. And you can use it will make some sound like bang, I guess. So enemies will get a plus for their initiative in the next encounters and other stuff. Just please read it in the rulebook, just to tell you what this icon is for. Alright, there are many other ranged weapons, elven bows and slings with special projectiles and shuriken and whatever. I don't want to spoil too much, and I think, I hope I haven't forgotten anything important. I think you get the point of shooting, and once again, shooting is, in my experience, very important in Dungeon Universalis, because you just have to roll for your own. The enemy can do anything to prevent taking the damage if you will succeed in the test, and this is very important in my experience. So just try to get at least, and even if it's just a mercenary shooter or something, to get some guy in your party to that with shooting skills and shooting weapon, and to make your party much more effective. Alright, that's it, I guess. Thanks again for your attention. Subscribe to the channel if you want to have the latest video and don't want to wait until I upload them to Board Game Geeks or into the Facebook group. And yes, that's it for now. We'll see again when we are talking about magical attacks or magic at all. And after that we are going over to the damage. And if this is over, I will make a complete quest or a random dungeon, or at least an epic event or something, to demonstrate how everything works together, that what we have seen until now. And I'm looking forward to it. I hope you will enjoy this. So stay tuned and have a great day. Bye.